William Shatner, the beloved Captain Kirk of Star Trek, has captivated audiences for decades with his bold spirit and unyielding charisma. But now he faces an unexpected challenge after a shocking new diagnosis that has shaken his world. As fans hold their breath, the iconic star must confront this daunting reality. Will he rise to the occasion once more? Or has this time pushed him to his limits? Stay tuned for a gripping journey ahead. Background and rise to fame. He exhibited early enthusiasm in acting as a young boy, and his gift soon became clear. Shatner loved performing and had a great imagination growing up. He frequently participated in school events and neighborhood theatrical performances. Later, he studied economics at McGill University, but his love of performing never left him. Following his studies, he worked in the entertainment business, first in Canadian theater and finally on television and movies. Shatner landed a range of parts on stage and film, launching his acting career in the 1950s and 1960s. But he had his big break only in 1966, a position that would define his career and establish him as a household name. On the TV series Star Trek, Shatner portrayed Captain James T. Kirk, the courageous commander of the USS Enterprise. This was not any job. It would put him in charge of a futuristic space adventure across the great distances of the universe. Shatner, Captain Kirk, personified all you would expect of a leader. As his troops confronted fresh risks on their missions, he was courageous, assured, and always ready to defend them. Viewers came to love him as a result of his charm and fast decisions in trying circumstances. Unlike other shows of the period, Star Trek explored philosophical and social concerns in addition to being a space adventure, therefore distinguishing itself. The show revolved mostly on Captain Kirk's leadership, knowledge, and audacity. Shatner performed the part flawlessly. The show developed a cult following over time, although it did not strike right away. Its future vision attracted viewers, and Shatner's performance as Captain Kirk was crucial in that regard. Star Trek grew to be among the most well-known and powerful science fiction series in history over years, and Shatner's performance of Captain Kirk made him a cultural icon. Shatner kept having success in other parts following Star Trek. Acting the aggressive cop, Sergeant T.J. Hooker, in the TV series, T.J. Hooker was among his most well-known roles. Playing a no-nonsense law enforcement officer who confronted criminals with bravery and tenacity, this part let him explore a different side of his acting. Another smash with viewers was his appearance in T.J. Hooker, therefore augmenting his career with still another unforgettable part. Shatner then starred as the quirky attorney Denny Crane in the well-liked legal drama Boston Legal. This persona deviated from his action-packed parts to highlight Shatner's comic timing and handling of more complex dramatic situations. Once more, he turned into a fan favorite and won several honors for his performance. Over decades, William Shatner demonstrated he could play any part and bring it to life in a way that enthralled viewers. William Shatner's performance as Captain Kirk confirmed his status as a cultural icon rather than only made him well-known. Generations of viewers of Star Trek were motivated to consider the future, space travel, and humanity's place in the universe. Originally running from 1966 to 1969, the series was ahead of its time in addressing significant social concerns via its futuristic prism. Previously unheard of on television, subjects including race, gender, and war were examined in a manner that probed the success of Star Trek sprang mostly from Shatner's performance as Captain Kirk. Kirk represented hope and advancement rather than only leadership. His persona embodied the finest of humanity, someone who was ready to defend what was good even under threat. Captain Kirk became a hero among show buffs, and Shatner's performance of him was remarkable and unforgettable. Star Trek had effects much beyond the small screen. It started a movement among legions of enthusiastic viewers of the program and its message. Known as Trekkers or Trekkies, these enthusiasts grew to be ardent series and character buffs. Shatner started showing up regularly at Star Trek events, meeting fans, telling tales about the program, and honoring Captain Kirk's legacy. His connection with his readers has always been unique, and with time, he accepted his position as a cherished member of the science fiction scene. Apart from the rules and fan meetings, Star Trek permanently changed popular culture. Numerous spin-offs, films, books, comics, and even toys sprang from the program. The leadership and bravery of Captain Kirk became emblems of what people hoped for in their own futures: adventure, discovery, and the confidence to boldly face the unknown. Shatner's performance of Captain Kirk also influenced the direction future science fiction writers took. The traits that made Kirk such a legendary leader, his courage, compassion, and wit, defined the behavior required of heroes in science fiction. Star Trek is the main source of inspiration for many of today's space operas and sci-fi adventures. Shatner's portrayal of Captain Kirk drives that motivation. William Shatner stayed a major player in the entertainment and popular culture scene even outside of Star Trek. People loved to copy his distinct voice, which frequently stopped sharply between words. With humorous parts and performances, Shatner even poked fun at himself, demonstrating his fearlessness in laughing at his own larger-than-life image. Shatner's health challenges over the years. William Shatner has had an amazing career marked by success, although over the years he has encountered some major health issues. Like many performers who have been in the public eye for decades, Shatner's life has not been without challenges, physical and emotional. Hearing loss was one of the first physical health issues Shatner ran upon. His hearing suffered over time from spending a lot of time on movie sets with loud special effects, including explosions, gunshots, and other powerful sounds. Shatner began to clearly have hearing issues by the time he was in his 60s. He said in interviews how challenging it was for him to deal with the reality that his hearing was not as keen as it had been. To assist control the problem, he finally started donning a hearing aid. Throughout his life, Shatner also suffered from persistent back issues that were partially related to the physical demands of his performing jobs. Among his legendary personas, Captain Kirk, among others, needed him to do stunts, fight choreography, and action scenes. Although Shatner frequently had stunt doubles for perilous sequences, his body nonetheless suffered wear and tear. Later on, he said that particularly as he grew older, his back discomfort had become a chronic problem. Apart from these physical issues, his lifestyle during his career affected his health as well. Shatner occasionally battled to keep a good work-life balance as a working actor. His rigorous schedule provided little time for rest and appropriate self-care. It included long hours on set, promotional trips, and attendance at fan conventions. Though Shatner was notorious for working non-stop, over time his way of life caught up with him. Emphasizing that keeping his health required a lot more work than it did in his younger years, he has freely discussed the difficulties of keeping physically active as he grew older. Shatner, who is 90 years old, is a symbol of perseverance because of his amazing lifetime. But he has admitted that maintaining health requires discipline. Shatner has stayed busy in his personal and professional life despite his health issues. He even ventured into novel challenges like spaceflight in his senior years. But with time, the indicators of physical wear have grown more clear-cut. Shatner's health issues have been emotional and psychological as well as physical. Especially as he has become older, he has struggled mentally. Any actor can suffer under the demands of celebrity and the limelight. Shatner is no exception. He has been candid throughout the years about the challenges of juggling the demands of his profession and the expectations placed upon him by the entertainment business and fans. Being Captain Kirk brought blessings, as well as a load of renown. Although he was well known all over, it also brought pressure to always live up to the expectations of his followers. The loss of close friends, especially those from the Star Trek cast who had grown like family to Shatner, caused emotional suffering as well. Leonard Nimoy's passing, who portrayed the venerable character Spock, was among Shatner's most major losses. Though their relationship was rocky, Shatner and Nimoy bonded strongly from their years of working together. Shatner suffered greatly with Nimoy's death in 2015, and he spoke out about his loss. Losing someone who had been at his side for such a long period of his career left Shatner considering the frailty of life and the suffering of outliving his close friends. Shatner also suffered greatly from the passing of DeForest Kelley, who portrayed Dr. McCoy on Star Trek. Kelley died in 1999. Shatner frequently called Kelley the heart of the original cast. The personal ties the Star Trek players had over decades transcended their roles on film. For Shatner, losing Kelley was especially difficult since it signaled the end of the original Star Trek trio. Every cast member who passed reminded Shatner that time was running forward and that his own death was approaching. Often in interviews, Shatner has been open about his emotions about aging and dying, including his fear of death. He grew more reflective as he grew older, usually wondering about what it meant to have a meaningful life. In one interview, Shatner said he fears aging, the slow loss of individuals dear to him and the slow decrease in physical ability, even if he does not fear death itself. He has talked about how challenging it is to live with these facts, particularly in light of their reminder of his own vulnerability. Shatner has negotiated the anxieties resulting from public awareness of aging. While aging is inevitable in life, for someone who has spent so many years in front of a camera, there is additional scrutiny. As Shatner confronts the natural changes in his body and talents, he has acknowledged that aging has been an emotional and psychological adjustment as well. The new diagnosis. William Shatner lately encountered a fresh and unanticipated obstacle. Following all these years in the public, where he appeared to be larger than life, aging caught up to him with a diagnosis that signaled a significant turning point in his life. Though Shatner's health has always been a subject of curiosity, physicians found anything more alarming only during a standard checkup. Shatner, a 90-year-old, was diagnosed with severe arthritis, a disorder that had been gradually accumulating over time, but only lately became significant enough to affect his daily existence. Although arthritis may not seem like the most unexpected diagnosis, for someone like Shatner, who has always valued his physical strength and ability to remain active, it was a terrible surprise. Shatner first noted growing pain in his joints, especially in his wrists and knees, and then the diagnosis arrived. Once seemingly easy activities like strolling around or writing started to demand far more work. Shatner first blamed it on natural age, but the discomfort got worse. Doctors verified that his arthritis had advanced following a battery of tests and exams. For Shatner, who had always thought that keeping active and working hard would maintain him fit and strong, it was a turning moment. Shatner said he felt as though his sense of invincibility had been dashed when he was diagnosed. He had dealt with health problems previously, but never quite like this. The relentless Captain Kirk was beginning to slow down at last. For Shatner, as much as for his loved ones, the news was difficult to process. Many of Shatner's friends and relatives, who had always praised his fortitude over the years, were quite worried about what this might mean for him going ahead. Shatner attempted to keep cheerful, but the truth of the matter was clear-cut. Given William Shatner's level of activity, the diagnosis of severe arthritis has fundamentally changed his everyday life. Activities he used to enjoy, horseback riding, one of his favorite pastimes, became far more difficult. Long enjoying horses, Shatner has several of his own and competes in equestrian events. Now, though, the pain in his joints is getting worse. Even something as simple as riding a horse or gripping the reins calls for more effort and frequently causes difficulty. Shatner's work schedule also required change. Renowned for his unwavering work ethic, Shatner was still actively working on a variety of projects, from television appearances to voiceover work, even at 90 years old. But the arthritis has greatly slowed him down. Once under control, long hours on set are today more physically taxing than ever. His hands, previously gripped screenplays or typed ideas for his next endeavor, suddenly hurt from the effort. Even walking around movie sets or convention halls has grown more exhausting, prompting Shatner to depend on help from others or use aids like a cane during especially difficult days. His emotional state has suffered as well from changes in his physical capacity. Shatner, long renowned for his sharp humor and larger-than-life style, discovered he was more vulnerable than he had ever been. He has had to accept that his body is no longer able to perform all it once could. For him, this acceptance has been challenging, particularly given his long-held conviction that keeping active will help to prevent the worst consequences of aging. Shatner has candidly discussed in interviews how his condition has made him reevaluate many facets of his life. He said his speed has slowed, and he has had to be more careful with the tasks he works on. Rather than grabbing every chance presented, he now considers the physical requirements before consenting. This new chapter of his life has also caused Shatner to consider what really counts: spending time with family, keeping in touch with loved ones, and savoring the moments he has left rather than always chasing more. Shatner is resolved, though, not to let his diagnosis define him even with all these developments. Though more slowly, he keeps discovering methods to keep involved in the activities he enjoys. To help him run daily chores without irritating his arthritis, he has welcomed new technologies, including voice-activated devices. He still enjoys being around horses even though he might not ride them very often. Their presence comforts him. Though absolutely a turning point, this diagnosis has not sapped Shatner's spirit. Still a fighter, he is resolved to go for as long as he can. Though it has changed his way of life, the arthritis has not stopped him from living it. Shatner's path now, as he gets used to this new reality, is simply another chapter in an amazing life. And true to his nature, he is confronting this difficulty with the same tenacity and will that first made him a legend. As soon as word of William Shatner's health condition leaked into the public, it spread like wildfire. Shatner's reputation as a revered cultural icon meant that the narrative was picked up right once by fans, reporters, and entertainment venues. Headlines everywhere speculated about the degree of his illness and what it might signify for the future of the venerable actor. Many people found it startling to consider someone as vibrant and tenacious as Shatner confronting such a major medical condition. Every update or analysis of Shatner's condition created ripples online and on TV. Hence, the media attention was widespread. Regarding how this diagnosis will affect his capacity to keep working, especially with regard to his frequent convention appearances, interviews, and sporadic acting jobs, fans voiced worry. Shatner's future in the entertainment business became a hot issue for conjecture. Others questioned whether he might retire completely. Notwithstanding the negative news, Shatner received overwhelming support from all directions. Publicly expressing their love and support, fellow actors, including his Star Trek co-stars, reassured Shatner and his supporters that he still held a significant place in their hearts. Messages of hope were sent by fans on social media sites regarding the extent Shatner has inspired them throughout the years. Shatner's emotional struggles. William Shatner discovered he was struggling emotionally unlike anything he had ever gone through when his diagnosis became reality. Particularly as he considered how his illness would affect his daily existence, feelings of solitude started to seep in. Shatner, who had always surrounded colleagues and supporters, felt alone. His arthritis hurt not only physically, but also began to affect his mental health. The uncertainty about his future and the restrictions placed on his illness started depression and worry to set in. Shatner's contacts suffered as well from his emotional challenges. Once a vivacious performer with a sense of humor and charm, he started to avoid family get-togethers and social functions. His loved ones noted the difference and voiced worries for his welfare. Close friends who had always loved Shatner's positive attitude were depressed to see him struggle with the emotional weight of his diagnosis. Even his contacts with supporters, which he had loved for so long, became increasingly constrained as his health issues took the front stage over the pleasure of those relationships. Shatner's condition also clouds his career, a component of his identity that has always been somewhat important. As his arthritis developed, keeping up with performing or public appearances was more challenging. His suffering and anguish whilst trying to perform made him doubt his ability to keep the same degree of dedication to his profession. Shatner, who had always taken great satisfaction in his unrelenting work ethic, now had to accept the truth that some projects would be beyond reach. This raised questions about losing his public character, the vibrant image he had defined for decades. Shatner was concerned about how his illness might affect his legacy as much as his profession. He started to worry if audiences would still remember him for the vivid, strong personality he portrayed, or if his health issues would define his latter years. He was already emotionally burdened. The ambiguity around continuing tasks and obligations added much to that weight. William Shatner started to gradually come to terms with his illness after his first shock at his diagnosis. Though it wasn't a simple process, he came to see he had to embrace the changes in his life if he was to live totally. Seeking medical help, he investigated therapy and drugs to help with arthritis-related discomfort and pain. Shatner also changed his way of life, stressing little physical exercise and modifying his calendar to meet his new reality. His mental health became first priority, and he freely embraced treatment to assist in negotiating the emotional weight of his diagnosis. Shatner started to reconstruct his life with the backing of a solid network involving close friends and family. He turned to their love and support to discover a fresh direction. Shatner slowed down physically, but he stayed passionate about the entertainment business and found other creative endeavors free from physical strain, voiceover work among other things. His path turned into a resiliency lesson for the world that even with enormous obstacles, one can find strength in adjusting and carrying on with intent. As William Shatner faces this challenging moment, we wish him strength and support. If you found this update insightful, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming stories and news about your favorite stars.